May the 15th, 2020. As you're looking at satellite imaging over Florida right now, and what you're seeing in the blue clouds, the ones moving from right to left or from west to east, or excuse me, east to west, those are surface level, low-level clouds, and that's the direction of the ocean currents and the ocean level cloud systems. As it goes from the green to the yellow to the orange, that you're getting into your higher level clouds there. What we're seeing off the southern tip of Florida, right in this area, and you can almost see the rotation there starting to try to wind up. It's not anything clearly defined. But what will happen is with this wind shear, guys, that's moving this way, it will shift the top of the clouds off the center of circulation. We've seen it many, many times before. Now, what's setting up here is probably going to be a very active early hurricane season. We've already got good winds coming out of the west. Again, you can see the low level. And as we start to see they're saying the El Nino will not be that strong this year, and so that will slow down the wind shear. So it looks like, again, we may have a very early active season. We'll keep an eye on it. Now, the National Hurricane Center is sending out their Hurricane Hunter aircraft sometimes today to investigate this, and they're talking about updating it in the afternoon. Now, this is a slightly different imaging. This is called RGB nighttime. And what we're dealing with, guys, and I mentioned it in the video about this when we first started watching the storm, is we're setting up for some flooding. You got a system here that's over Oklahoma moving to Arkansas, Missouri. All of this moisture is moving east. And you've got a system here that I'm still kind of keeping an eye on this thing in the Gulf of Mexico, guys. But it is setting up, again, floods for this area, but it's all going to kind of converge in the northeastern or the central eastern coastline right in this area. And this is coming in this direction. So not only are you going to have wind and storm, but very likely you could be setting up for some spring flooding, guys. Keep that in mind as we go through this. We'll play it forward again. Your red clouds, your red images are the higher clouds, and the blue are your low-level clouds. And you can see what's going on now. Here, as the storm moves north, and we're going to look at the track, the way it will move will be determined on how strong the wind shear is once it gets up into this area. We talked about that earlier, too. Now, we've got the same percentage or chance of development on both the 2-day and 5-day forecast now, both at 80%. Here's your location, your storms. Click on there, guys. It's going to tell you a trough of low pressure located over the Straits of Florida continues to produce organized shower activity and gusty winds across the Florida Keys. Portions of southeast Florida and the northwestern Bahamas. Gradual development of the system is expected and will likely become a tropical or subtropical storm on Saturday when it's located near the northwestern Bahamas. Later in the weekend and early next week, the system is expected to move generally northeastward over the western Atlantic. Regardless of development, the disturbance will continue to bring heavy rainfall to portions of the Keys, southeast Florida, and the Bahamas through Saturday. Tropical storm force wind gusts are also possible across portions of the Keys, southeast Florida, the Bahamas during the next day or so. In addition, hazardous marine conditions are expected along the Florida east coast and in the Bahamas, where gale warnings are in effect. So pay attention to it. It's going to strengthen very quickly. It says dangerous surf conditions and rip currents are possible along portions of the southeast U.S. coast this weekend and early next week. See products from your local weather office and high seas forecast for more details. Now, I want to again look at the Canadian model because year after year, it's turned out to have kind of one of the best predicted paths going on an average. Now, you've got the Navy, which is getting very good with their modeling called NAVGEM and some of the other ones. But let's look at this Canadian model again. It is keeping it close to the shoreline, especially when it gets up into North Carolina. And what will happen is, just depending on how the models change and how quickly the system now off the tip of Florida will turn north. The sooner it turns north, the closer it will be to the coastline. You can see what I'm saying. But we'll take a look at this and let it move up as it goes through time. Now we're into the 16th off the Florida coast. There's where your rip tides and things like that are going to come in. It's going to affect the entire East Coast up until at least the North Carolina area. 18th, you're just skirting the Outer Banks, according to the Canadian model. A lot of moisture's hanging in that area. Notice Georgia and South Carolina and North Carolina from these systems merging. And there's where your flood potentials are setting up. Notice for all the way out to May 22nd, guys, almost, you are dealing with a lot of rain, a lot of moisture in one area of the country there. Again, the North Carolina area seems to be targeted the most. But we're going to be watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.